Hey again everyone, I'm going to start doing my harvest videos again this week. Today is Monday, June 15th, and this is what I got out of the garden this morning. And this is just the very beginning of the tomatoes. We got a few cherry tomatoes from one plant. I would say maybe about 15 from one plant over the last 2 weeks. And this is what I got today from 3 other plants. They were hiding from me. The way we have these particular plants tied up, it was really hard to see. I had to get down on the ground, and I'm all muddy on the front, and but they were worth it. As soon as I saw them, I started giggling. But I got a few that weren't quite ready, but because, like I said, because they were so hard to get to, if I saw any little change of color on them at all, I just went ahead and pulled them, and these just fell off as I was reaching in there. But obviously these have been ripe for a while. Look how dark red that one is, and I didn't even know it. So we have cherry tomatoes, we have a lemon boy tomato in the garden, we have Bradley tomatoes, and Ace 55, I believe. Here is actually one of the lemon boy tomatoes that I got last week. It's still a little bit green in places, but it was starting to turn, and I don't know if you can see that little ridge right there. It was actually pressed up against the cage in between 3 other tomatoes. So I figured I'd go ahead and get it since it was starting to ripen, and that would finish ripening in the house, and then that would leave the other 3 tomatoes room to go ahead and continue to grow. So that's still ripening, and we've eaten the rest of the cherry tomatoes. Now we have a whole bunch more to eat. I also got some Swiss chard. I'm going to have to throw a couple of these out because they had some really bad bug damage to them. So these will go right in the compost. But we got 3 really good leaves from it, and I've got 10 plants of Swiss chard, and this particular one is the rainbow chard. I've got some with yellow stems, and they're just so pretty, but they're just not big enough yet. I got 4 more beets, and we still have tons of beets out there, but I'm just getting them as they get really big, and I'm saving the greens, the ones that don't have bug damage, and I've been chopping those up and putting them in salads. I finally got one of my, sorry, I call this a tomato, one of my peppers. It was turning red, and red peppers are my absolute favorite. I wanted to leave it out there until it got fully red, but it was starting to look like it was getting a little soft right here, so I was afraid that something was getting to it, so I went ahead and pulled it. And I have 3 other peppers out there that are turning red, and then I have 4 plants that are just full of peppers. I'm really excited. So this is the first red pepper. I pulled 1 green pepper a couple of weeks ago, but I like them when they're red. So I wanted to let these stay on the vine as long as I could. Then I got a few more florets of broccoli. The broccoli plants are just about done, but my husband and I were laughing over the weekend. Every time we think that the broccoli's done, it's time to pull up those plants and make room for something else, we go out and there are 5 or 6 more pretty good sized florets. So as long as it's producing something, we're going to leave them. They have a whole lot of little ones still on there, but it is going to be like in the 90s all week this week, so, and part of next week. So I think it's going to be getting too hot for broccoli soon, so we might be on the very last leg of the broccoli. And I think we're on the last leg of the snow peas. These are the ones I got today. The green garden peas are gone. We actually pulled those plants up already. And the sugar snap peas are done. and I have 3 plants of snow peas in the back that are still producing, and they're still full of blooms, and they get some pretty good shade, so they may continue to go for another couple of weeks, but they are starting to turn brown on the bottom, so I'm not sure exactly how much longer they'll be producing. The good thing about those plants is I don't really need the room for those for something else, so I can just leave them in the ground until they absolutely turn brown. We don't really need the space for something else like we do the gardens in the front. We also have some baby beans coming in and some baby eggplants. I only have 1 eggplant, and it's the mini baby eggplants, and there's one out there that's just so tiny and it's so cute. Probably by the end of the week I'll be harvesting it. We have some zucchini that I would say probably in this week we'll be getting. There are 3 good sized ones out there that are just coming along nicely, and it finally looks like the edamame are plumping up, and hopefully by the end of this week I'll have a freezer full of edamame, or if not the end of this week, maybe this time next week. So I'm going to try to do this again tomorrow with whatever I get. If I don't get a whole lot, then if I go out there and it doesn't look like there's a lot, I'll probably just wait until Wednesday to harvest. So I'll see you back when I get more things from the garden. Okay, today is Wednesday, June 17th, and this video is actually being done at 10:20 at night because this is the first time that I've had an opportunity today to sit down and do it. This is the harvest for today, and it doesn't look like a whole lot, and it's really not, because we're kind of in that in-between stage. A lot of the spring vegetables, the very early things, are on their last leg, like the broccoli. I'm getting about a handful every day. In fact, my husband and I were talking about pulling those up in the next couple of days anyway. So just getting a few little things of broccoli, and about a cup and a half, 2 cups of peas. But it's a little early for the summertime vegetables like my cherry tomatoes and bell peppers and my regular full-size tomatoes. I've got plants that are full of tomatoes, the larger tomatoes. They're just not ripening up yet. We're still a couple weeks off on that, and gonna have tons of cucumbers and tons of zucchini. I have some little baby mini eggplant, and I looked at those today, and I've got a couple that are about an inch and a half long, and I think you're supposed to harvest those at 2.5 to 3 inches, so we're very close on those. So this is what I got this morning, and let's just start over here with the broccoli. This is why I love homegrown vegetables. This is a broccoli. What is this called? I can't think of the name right now. Floret. That's what I'm looking for. It is way too late for me. This is the broccoli floret that I got out of the garden today. Isn't it funny looking? It's split right down the middle. And here are my snow peas. They're still blooming, and as I said the other day, they're getting plenty of shade, so they got a kid coming here pointing at the broccoli going, ew, yuck. He likes the peas though. Here you go. You want a pea? He's eating all of my harvest. The snow peas are getting lots of good shade, so they are really coming in nicely. I'm just going to leave those out till they finally quit. I went ahead and packaged this up because it was starting to turn a little bit of change color a little bit. This is some basil that I got out of the garden this morning. It was getting really tall, and some of the stems were getting really thick. So I wanted to go ahead and pick them. And I'm going to do homemade pizzas on Friday night. So I already have the basil. Here are just some peas that were too large. The pods were kind of tough, so I went ahead and shelled those. My bell peppers, these are, I did not intend to get all of these. In fact, I only intended to get this one. It was the prettiest one as far as not the looks, but the colors. Okay, I better finish this video really quickly before all of my harvest disappears, because one of my kids came in and stole a tomato while we were talking. Anyway, this was the prettiest pepper as far as color that I wanted to get. See how shiny it is? These others, this one's pretty nice too. They're kind of small, but that's okay. These three, the plain, you see how tiny this one looks like a habanero, but it's not. It's a bell pepper. And this one's really, really wrinkly. The plant that these three were on looked like it was about to die. I don't know whether the groundhog got it or whether it just got too dry, but the leaves were really wilted, and these were the only peppers on them, and they looked like they were doing fairly well, but in the last day they just started to kind of wilt. So the plant has plenty of water now. I think it did get a little dry, but I'm not really sure what's wrong with the plant. But I went ahead and pulled these three peppers, thinking that maybe if I took these off, that it would redirect the energy back into a healthy plant. So we'll see if that works in the next week or so. If it does, great, we'll get more peppers from it. If it doesn't, at least I got these three, and I think I got one last week from that plant, that same plant too, so it wasn't a total loss. And then I'll just pull it and throw it in my compost pile. So here's hoping those plants do that, or that one plant does a little bit better. These are my cherry tomatoes, minus the one that my kids stole. And these that you see that are really green, sometimes they fall off of the plants and are there. Oh, sorry about that. My hand went in front of the camera. And they're just lying in the ground, on the ground in front of the plants or underneath the plants. I go ahead and gather those too, and I put them with the ripening tomatoes, because sometimes they'll go ahead and ripen, sometimes they won't. I've had some that never ripen, and that's okay. I'll compost those as well. But I like to go ahead and gather them as long as they don't look like they have any kind of damage, any insect damage or bird activity or rot or anything like that. As long as it looks nice like this one does, I'll go ahead and pull those. So anyway, I'll go ahead and pull those and then just stick them with the rest of my tomatoes. I got one more beet. It was kind of buried underneath some of the peas in the back, the snow peas. So I went ahead and pulled it. And I don't know if I've told you, but I've been saving these beet greens, the ones that are not full of holes and that stuff. I wouldn't eat that. But the ones that look pretty good, I cut them up and put them in my salads. Here's one that I would keep. And that looks like it's the only one of these that I will be keeping. The rest of them will go right in the compost because they don't look like anything that I want to eat. Maybe some of these small ones down here. Nope, there's a bug hole in that too, and there's another one. So nope, only one off this plant, so that's okay though. They make good compost. And I had given up on my sugar snap pea plant because I thought it was dead, and I went over there today to pull it, and these peas were on it. So some of them, I think this one looks a little like the peas are busting out. I might go ahead and shell this one, but these are good sugar snap peas, and so I left the plant in the ground. We'll keep it there as long as something's producing, because I don't really need the space for something else. With the broccoli, we do need the space for some other things that we're going to finish out the summertime garden with. But with the peas in the back, I don't really need that space for that. I'm going to skip this for just a second, and I'm going to move over to this. I know you think that this is a collard green. It's not. It looks just like a collard green, doesn't it? But it is actually a Brussels sprout leaf. And I have been harvesting these when I trim the bottom of the plant, trim the leaves off the bottom of the plant. I've been saving these, and you cook them up just like you do collard greens. In fact, I'm going to have a video on that in the next couple of days. I got a bunch from the garden last Friday, and I'm planning to have them for dinner tomorrow night. So Ron pulled these off of one plant today. He was just cleaning something up, and he pulled several of them, and some of them had some bug holes in them, so we threw those out or into the compost. And so these look good, and I'm going to cook these up tomorrow. And then last but not least, this is actually a broccoli leaf. I've not tried it yet, and this is a tiny broccoli leaf, that you can cook these just like you can collard greens. And so I'm going to try those too when we pull up all of our broccoli plants. If we like it, great. If we don't, I'll just not do that anymore. And I think you can actually eat this raw too in a salad, like kale or something. Let me taste it. It does taste a lot like kale. You know, kale and broccoli are cousins. It's a little more bitter than kale, but it's got a good bite to it. I like it. So who knew? Well, that's the harvest for today, and we'll probably have some more things tomorrow, because the eggplants are coming in. Oh, the edamame are puffing up. I think they're going to be ready to pick in a couple of days, so I'm really excited about those. Okay, this is Sunday night, June 21st. It's Father's Day evening. This is the last harvest that I'm going to show you for this week's video. And I got quite a few things here on the table. And this is from Thursday, Friday, and today. I did not pick the garden yesterday, Saturday, because we had quite a few things to do. The only thing that I did get from the garden that's not pictured here is I got probably about 12 to 14 stalks of Swiss chard that I took to my mom and dad. They've never had it before, and I had a bunch coming ripe, so I took some to them, and we have plenty more in the garden. So let's just start off with what I got here. I have a big bowl of kale. The kale has just been wonderful this year. I've been eating it in salads nearly every day, and I even made some kale chips the other day. I want to work on that recipe just a little bit before I show it to you. I'd never made them before, and they were not quite what I wanted. So I'm just going to play around with that and see if I can get them to get them a little bit better. I got one pepper that was turning red. It's still green on one side, but that's okay. I couldn't resist picking it. It was so pretty. I have one pickling cucumber. We have half of our cucumbers are the pickling cucumbers, and half are the full-size ones. So here's one of the pickling ones. If I don't get any more pickling cucumbers in for a few days, I'll probably just go ahead and eat this in a salad or something. We were going to have plenty to make my pickles. Here are all of my cherry tomatoes. Some of them are still a little underripe, but if they fall off while I'm grabbing something that's underneath another one, I just go ahead and pick them. They'll ripen up. So next I have all of my peas. These are from the sugar snap peas, and these are just the ones that were overripe. Yeah, they're starting to kind of get out of hand really quickly. I guess that's because the plants are getting old, and I'm trying to pick them every other day, but even still I miss a few, or they just we've had a lot of rain, so they just kind of it seems like they grow in huge growth spurts overnight. But so I had a lot that I've overripened or oversized. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to put these in a pint-sized, a half pint-sized mason jar, and get this full this week, and then I'm going to cook these for dinner. And I'm just going to cook them like I would regular green peas. I'm probably going to do meatloaf and maybe do peas and carrots or something. These are the snow peas that were still, the pods were still nice enough to eat as they're intended. And some of them the seeds are still a little bit big, but I tasted a few of them and they're still good. So I'm really been happy with these plants this year. They still have tons of blooms on them, and they're getting just enough shade that even though we've had weather in the low 90s for several days, they're still doing pretty well. Here's some broccoli. I'm going to talk about the broccoli in just a few minutes, but this is some of the florets and some of the thicker stems. Actually, I'll just go ahead and tell you what I'm doing with the broccoli now. I've got another video about how I made some Brussels sprout leaves and cooked them like you would collard greens. Well, I'm going to try that with broccoli greens too. So the plants that we have pulled up that were not producing any longer, these are the leftovers of it, and some more of the florets from the other plants. And then here are the leaves. I've already washed them once. I do need to wash them several times because any kind of green like that you have to wash several times. And I've got them in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and I'm going to cook them and see how they taste. So then I have one little funky looking carrot. It's really small, but it was really thicker than some of the rest of them. So I went ahead and pulled it thinking that it was going to be about twice as big as it was, but it wasn't. I get impatient. I really shouldn't pull the carrots too soon. But let me tell you what I've been doing. When I have the carrots, I save the carrot tops, and then I have been cutting them up and using them in salads. They taste like parsley, so anytime I would need something with parsley, I can substitute my carrot tops. I had 3 lovely beets. Still have quite a few beets in the garden, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them. I'm not crazy about pickled beets, and I like to just have them as roasted vegetables and make a salad with them. But so if you have any ideas on what to do with your beets, let me know. And I have been using the greens in salads. They're delicious. And lastly, for this garden video, here is my first picking of edamame. I was so excited. I was terribly afraid that the groundhog had gotten to the plants where they would not produce anything. But you can see I have little nice little harvest for the first one. There are tons of pods still on there, but they just were not thick enough. The beans were not thick enough to harvest. I thought I had one that I had pulled it open. Yeah, here we go. Isn't it pretty? I had pulled it open to see if it was the right size on the first one that I pulled up. So it was just like that, and I'm just really happy. This is one of our favorite things for my husband and me to snack on. We love them. The kids not so much, but that's okay. More for us. So I'm going to steam these, and I'll probably go ahead and put these in the freezer because I don't have anything on the menu this week where I would use them. So I definitely don't want them to go bad. So I'll probably just go ahead and steam them and stick them in the freezer for another use. And then later on this week, hopefully, we'll be able to get some more out of the garden. And if most of the pods are full and thick like that, then we'll just pull the whole plants, because they are a determinate plant, meaning that they come in all at once. So this is my harvest for last week. I've been very, very blessed to have this wonderful bounty for just the beginning of the summer. There's going to be tons more the rest of the summer, and I am thrilled. This is the best our garden has ever produced, so I'm really happy. Thanks so much for watching. Fly high, Pooh Bear.